But that's only one facet of what we have to look at when you're creating a competency roadmap. There's really 4 categories. The first one's around offerings. Well-defined, well-scoped product, parts, and services offerings. That is the key to innovation. That's the key to getting margin expansion. If all we're doing is selling labor, we're going to commoditize. If you come in with a performance-based service agreement that says, hey, we just walked through your building or we just walked through your site, and these are the most critical assets that you have, we're going to sell you a different offering for those critical assets because those are the most important to you. You're going to get a premium for it. So the goal around product offerings and unmet customer needs is a core competency that needs to be built versus I'm building a good estimating function and a good quotation function. Because all that's going to be is a marginalized or commoditized approach to the business, and that's just a death knell. The second area is around effective sales tools, skills, and compensation plan. And this allows people to sell that value. So there's nothing worse than creating a great, compelling service offering, and then we give it to the field, and the first thing they do is they price it cost plus. And you just walked away all the value you created from all the previous investments that you made in developing an offer. So having effective sales tools that are more ROI-based, that are more based on KPIs of the customer, and quantify the value in the customer's minds of what those savings are worth is the way to sell. So flipping that from being features and benefits focused around the offering and what you're going to do to how it meets the customer's needs is how you have to flip the selling approach. That's a very difficult thing to do because it's ingrained in the industry to do cost plus pricing. So there's a compensation plan issue in there too, compensating on margin expansion, compensation on escalation. Are you renewing contracts with greater scope? There are many things you can do in compensation with the sales force to help that transformation and drive behavioral change. So that's the second key area of competency that you need to build. The third area is around how are you positioning yourself. Services businesses typically don't have huge advertising budgets. All right, we're typically riding along on the equipment side of the house, or if you're a services business by yourself, you typically aren't going to invest a ton in advertising. Because ultimately your product is what? Client relationships, the proposal you generate, your references, and your methodology. So everything I've talked about there is not about technology, it's not about new products, it's about the reputation of who you're building. So one of the key things about services marketing is, do you really have a good, strong thought leadership marketing campaign? Brochures don't sell services, okay? But having people understand that first that comes to mind is this company when I want to do a problem here. If I have a new project I want to take on, I always got to go to this company. Because you know why? They're always writing articles, they're always publishing, they're always speaking, they have the best people in the industry. That's how you compete in the services business. So there's a different approach. There's a great white paper we developed a couple years ago, the differences between product marketing and services marketing. And they're just fundamentally different. And if you're not aware of those are the things that are most important. Because those things don't work. The things in product marketing are almost irrelevant to services marketing. So let's talk about competency building, step 1. Competency building. It's a model for identifying and evaluating core competencies that you want to invest in, grow, evaluate, and measure the performance. So you can say year over year, you've made improvements in your business. The way I typically characterize competency building is this. I have 100 managers that can make next year's or this quarter's plan for revenue. I have probably about 25 that can make the business better for the next year. Okay, so that's intentionality. So one's about building competencies, so next year it's in a better position to compete. And then there's other ones that's just making their annual plan or making their quarterly numbers. So this is about competency building so that next year you've built a better competency in value-based selling. You've built a better competency in dispatching. A better competency in doing ROI-based selling. Those are deep competencies that need to be built over time. That's what a maturity path will help you do. And then the dashboard will help you. Examples are a 3-year account plan. How many 3-year account plans do you have in your portfolio right now? By office, by branch. Why is a 3-year account plan so important? Well, it's teaching the organization that services is a multi-year journey. It's allowing you to build and grow a continuum of service offers over a period of time versus just winning a service agreement and walking away. So those are examples of maturity paths, and I'm going to actually go into one a little bit more deeper. In the services area, These are the core strengths that you want to build upon over the next 2 to 3 years to be successful. It's areas that may need developmental focus or need attention in a certain branch, in a certain territory, in a certain country. It measures period-to-period progress. So what you'll do is you'll go through a service operation. Let's say the Phoenix one here is struggling. You'll go through and measure how are they doing on selling, how are they doing on estimating, how are they on pre-bid validation, how are they on fulfillment, what's their leadership bench, what's their financial acumen. And you'll rate them based on a set of criteria, and they say they're a 4, 3, 2, 4. That's their rating. You sit down with them, develop a plan that says by the end of the year we want you to have a 1-point improvement in these 3 areas. So it's a different discussion than making your numbers. It's about how you want to make the business better. These could be around execution, selling, profitability, leadership. We typically give an award out every year for an outstanding service business. We do it in different regions, different parts of the world, but it's always based on 3 things: profitable revenue growth, operational excellence, and investment in people. So only one metric is about performance. The other ones are around how are you developing the business. Okay, so this is an eye chart. It's not meant to be read, but what it does do is this is an assessment we did of a country. We had a country down in Latin America, services business. I think this was actually Brazil. And we did an assessment on 12/31/2008 around what's your technicians' capabilities, around service and safety, what's your estimating capabilities, is it a formal process, what type of resources do you have, what's your selling capability, are your tools deployed. We looked at field supervision. So all of that was around technicians. Then we had another competency set around management skills. This is working on the business versus working in the business. And we test people on, or we rank people on, what's the utilization of productivity programs? Do you have a formal sales pipeline and service forecasting? How's your resource planning? How's your financials? And how is your programs that are meant to align sales and operations? And we rank them based on a criteria. There's a table. And they got a 2 here, a 2 here, a 2 here. And then in 7/1/2009, fast forward, we did another assessment and what their improvement score was. And they improved by 0.19 points in these areas. Getting started, improving, growing, succeeding, or leading. So I have right now, I can go back to my office and I can look at all of the service operations throughout the globe, and I know which ones are 3 on estimating, which ones are best in class at a 5. And then if they're adjacent, I'm asking why isn't the best in 5 office going and helping the one that's a 3? And that's the job of a field leader to go do that. So this allows you to demonstrate to management over a multi-year period why you're investing in service and building a better business besides monthly results. And the competencies are what's important to you in your area of your business. Competencies I've talked about may be different, but they're pretty generic as far as the areas that would be important in building competencies. So that's what's called the services maturity path, and it helps internal stakeholders self-assess the ability to create and deliver value. So how we use this is when that maturity path assessment is done, we then sit down with the manager of that office or that country, and we put an improvement plan together and say, we want you to focus on these areas, and we're going to come back in 6 months and see if you've done it. So then his performance appraisal is based on sales and competency building. Now, just to get a feel for it, if you're a beginning business trying to scale it, if you're an intermediate business trying to get to better, or if you're trying to be best in class,